It's me, Shannon Dale Stott, owner and director of Improv On and Off the Stage, and you have tuned into Improv On and Off the Topic. Listen, what we do here is we help you connect with yourself and others through improv, and not just like in a wooey, like, let's help you connect. Improv is the way. Like, some of that is what I bring, but then I also bring my besties and very talented and very professional science friends to help us like really connect why the improv is helping you connect to yourself and others through improv. Let me tell you what, let me just bring Emily Arnold, and I'm going to get it right. So Emily Arnold Fleming is a licensed board certified behavioral analyst and also an improviser. And they are going to help us connect to ourselves and others through improv. Good Lord.
Let's do it. In a slightly less woo-woo way. But I will say, like, when I was in like my initial coursework and grad school and all that, behavior analysis is very much a anti-woo-woo. It is like, this is science and this is what it is. And the more I've been in the field, I've become more like, we can be flexible.
You have the benefit of like, you can like slide into woo-woo and be woo-woo and then say also licensed. I'm licensed.
Yeah. Right. But also, here's something to back it up. And
exactly.
That's how learning works, y'all.
Oh my gosh, Emily, we are at this is our last one of this month, our last topic, right?
Can you believe?
No,
I cannot.
It's like to date us, this is 2022, and this is the 25th of April.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, of what?
It's the perfect date. It's that meme from Miss Congeniality. It's like, it's April 25th. It's a light jacket.
It's true. It's true, though. We all know this. Yeah. Listen, the topic for the year is community, and the topic for the month is
collaboration.
Let's talk about it. Listen, you that's tuning in and watching this and have watched all of our episodes. We've talked about collaboration within ourselves. Yeah, we've talked about collaboration within ourselves, how our brains collaborate with our bodies and vice versa, and how we make choices, how we make those choices that are in line with the things that are important to us. So that was like a lot of that's within. We talked about collaboration without external collaboration, right? Like how to bring people together to all work as a unit to get one thing done, to create. And today I'd like to talk to you, Emily Arnold Fleming, about collaboration. Facilitating collaboration. Yes. How do we sit on the sidelines and help people collaborate out there in the world and, in the world, in our companies, on stage, off stage, and beyond.
Yeah. And I think that's great, because I think all of us at some point, like, we're in a relationship that needs to be collaborative at some point, but then we're also, regardless of who you are likely to have to coach someone. Like, if you are especially if you become a grown-up and have a small child in your life somewhere, there's a chance you and that small child are going to go somewhere and you're going to have to be like teaching that small child how to interact with the world. And so I think this is very important. Yeah. And that's kind of where my brain goes to first, is like working with kids on how to interact with other kids,
right? Why we don't push, so I am a stepmother, and it was really interesting to watch my stepson on the playground. He's now 13. He's 13, but I've known him since he was 3. And he would go up to groups of children and he would say, "Come on, friends. Come on, friends." And then he would run.
I love him.
Because he's great. You love him for good reason. He's great. He would just run up to group. And if those friends didn't follow, he would just go to another group of people and say, "Come on, friends," and jet, right? So let's start there. So there's like this wonderful ideology, I guess, this feeling of how easy it should be to get people to work together or to get people to work with you. And yeah, presenting an idea, and we'll call "Come on, friends" like the idea, right? Like let's create a blank. Let's create a blank. And that's fine. And we can just I'm going to just tiptoe from this piece onto stage immediately. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're in our scenes. This is what we do. Like, let's create a blank. Sometimes we call people on, sometimes we scene paint, but we don't often talk about creating something and then leaving it alone for other people, for your teammates. Let's call them, like, either if it's one, but usually not usually, sometimes you have more than one player on the sideline or wherever. And we tend to like paint ourselves or step on stage and do something for ourselves, but we also have this opportunity to step on stage and create something for others to play in.
Yeah, and leaving, I scene painting things are my favorite things, where you can just like walk in and drop like a nugget and then be like, "Have fun with that nugget."
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, and I think again, this is one of those things we kind of talked all month about how we're all about talking about how our improv skills can translate off the stage. And all this month we've been talking about how collaboration we teach pretty explicitly. And I think this is one of those examples, right? Where we teach things like scene painting, like when someone says a thing, it is a present for you to pick up later. And we do explicitly practice those things on the stage for other humans. And we practice that through the kind of skills underneath that are clarity of communication, right? Like I wouldn't just kind of like wave my arms while walking around and be like, "Over there is some kind of pedestal, I don't know." But I would go to a specific part of the stage, show with my hands where it is, explain like there is a marble pedestal intricately carved about 3 feet high, and on it is a bowl overflowing with grapes or whatever, right? And so in that way, we teach the clear communication so the next person coming can be like, "Oh, that exact thing, you communicated it clearly to me, so I know what it is."
Yes. And when we're like I said, I was going to tiptoe on stage. So I'm going to like teeter on and off stage here. Going back to my stepson, as you're saying, like, you're telling exactly what it is that other people can come and collaborate with, right? You set up something specific so that they can play in that specificity. Oh my gosh. Let me just, if you're watching and you want to get into that, go back to another episode that you and I have talked about, where we talk about boundaries, right? We talk about boundaries and how important it is to be specific with our boundaries, to have those drawn boundaries pretty hard so that we can play freely within them, right?
Yes.
Listen. This is the best.
Well, and, speaking of boundaries and communication and thinking about your story about your stepson, right? He just says, "Come on, guys."
Yeah.
But think about like the boundaries of those kids that he was talking to, right? Or like what they might have set up for themselves, or what they are afraid of doing, right? They're like, I usually don't follow strange kids. And I don't know where we're going. And I
Right.
don't know what we're doing.
That's exactly what I'm getting at, right? Like we had to teach him to say things like, first off, your energy, perfect.
Excellent. Don't stop.
Don't stop. Never stop. It's so good. Also, when you invite your friends to come on, maybe have like a couple of ideas about what it is that you're invite. Let's go over. Let's play hide and seek. Let's play tag. Come on, friends. Let's fill in the blank for them so that they can figure out, that's my boundary. I hate tag, so that's why I'm not following. Or I love tag and I want to play, so I'm going to come in with you. And that's what you're doing when you're setting up this pedestal with the fruit.
Yeah, making clearly defined things so that other people can engage with it. And so those are the skills when we're talking about how us facilitating other humans. Those are some of those. I hate the phrase soft skills, but it's one of those soft skills that we need to teach, is like that communication and language piece. And I think honestly, Shannon, and this is again, this is the ACT person in me, the acceptance, commitment, and behaviorism person in me, that I think some of even that comes from like an awareness of what you're saying and who you're talking to and what your language is and where you are and all the context, etc. And I think that's another skill that we need to facilitate when we're teaching people these things. You know, with your stepson, we wouldn't just be like blanket statement, tell them to play hide and seek.
Right. Tell them, go.
Right. We try to teach like those nuances to be like, okay, sometimes maybe this is fine and sometimes this is fine. And sometimes, that kid might be way too little for tag.
There you go. Yes, exactly. We're most often on the same page, but that's exactly right? If we're at an adult party in a house, right? Tag may not be, even if there are other kids, tag may not be the best choice for the environment. So how we set these things up, how we say, right, where is this pillar? It's a pillar, it has fruit on it, it's standing, where is it outside? And those types of details, this is why we look to our friends to come and help us set up the environment so we know what we're playing in. And that, if we're taking that and we start to flow into the corporate world, let's say, and then maybe we can flow out and into other relationships. But when you are looking to have other people collaborate, right? For whatever reason, you're trying to open up collaboration on a project, collaboration on a theater. Where should we go for dinner? It's still the same thing. You're trying to set up some boundaries. Like, okay, for this workshop that we're doing together, the workshop is 3 hours. The client really loves daisies. I don't know, right? And it's a blank collaboration, or it's a whatever it is. So that now you can say, take that team and with those boundaries start to work together.
Yeah, absolutely. And having that in advance and knowing like roles, I think going into situations like that too, right? Like, we're going together on a workshop. Who's writing the workshop? Is it half and half? Is it Shannon, you're writing, you're just going to hand me what you wrote and I will go off and have fun? Or is it kind of a mix of both? Like, do we have some pre-planned stuff and then some independent things? And I think all of those things should be decided upon. I mean, they need to be.
Right? It's true, because the more we give people the boundaries, the more information that we can give people, the easier it is for them to collaborate and help you succeed on whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
I'm working on being more vulnerable, so
Go ahead.
Whenever in behind the scenes of improv on and off, it's the same thing, right? When we, for our live shows or for the gala or whenever you and I are talking about what we're going to talk about next, it's not just me writing down the topics or saying the things that I want done, and this is what our show is going to look like. There is a feeling that I have. I want us to be sure we're getting some science out. I want us to be sure we're getting the audience to work with us. These are the things I want to hit. Now, Emily, Luke, Aaron, team, you take that. Let's take that and see where we can, like, what we can achieve and where we can go with those parameters.
Yeah. And we also, it's because it's not all you, and you're open to other things, right? Like is what I'm trying to say, is like, it's not all just you being like, this is my vision, goodbye.
Right.
But like you have very long talks with all of us about your thoughts, which allows us to, we had a meeting, I think March's meeting you weren't present for.
Right.
And so it allowed us as your company to be able to be like, okay, we know that this is the vision that we have. We know where all of us fit in that vision. So let's talk about some planning things for the next month or so.
Right.
And that is really, really nice to be able to talk about things. And then even, honestly, Shannon, my other favorite thing about On and Off is that even with things that aren't necessarily like, we don't all just like stay in our lane and ignore people, right? If we have something like before the second live show that we did in Austin in March, I was like, I need help. And everyone kind of joined together and we all collaborated on what my piece was going to be. And like Luke and I talked about his piece, and like we did we all helped each other with things, which is also beautiful. And I think you facilitate that by encouraging those sorts of things, and trusting us with those sorts of things. It's very cool.
It's lessons learned from improv, right?
Yeah.
Because the end, or rather the other side of that, like we're like, yeah, these are the things we do, but it's terrifying. And it will never stop being terrifying.
Yeah. Who thought, I mean, I know who thought it was a good idea to do back-to-back live shows where I was like, I'm going to completely change my section from one show to the, I mean, it was like a conglomeration of ideas that was terrifying, but also brilliant.
Yes.
And very fun. And yeah, it's scary, but we have people to support us through these things that are scary.
And yeah, the lesson that we learn from improv like directly translates into that part of it, which is that it doesn't matter what you set out. Like you can really have a pretty solid idea, because this is another trap that people fall into, right? They have an idea, they put out the parameters to their team with the intent or the intention that their team will naturally pick their idea, right? You can't do that. That's cheating. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Like it's like, and so the idea is that you have to be willing, sure, like these are my parameters, these are the things I want, but you really have to be willing to set that column up with all those grapes and be okay with the fact that someone comes in as a starfish, a starfish king, like, and eats from these grapes, whatever, like, because this is where they live in their starfish palace. Like, you have to be okay with that, because like you said, one, it's brilliant. Yay. So excited for you to like take my idea and incorporate it so that we're still getting to the same story. We're still doing the same thing, which is creating this scene or story or narrative, right? But yeah, it's scary for those reasons. And the reasons that whatever it is up here that you really think is so obvious, there's no way. And I set up a witch and a house made of candy and 2 children. I know exactly where this is going. And then
someone comes in and they're like, wow, a theme park. What a nice attraction at the theme park.
You have to be okay with that.
There is, it reminds me of, I love, my favorite TV show of all time is The Good Place. And because it's my favorite TV show of all time, and because I love podcasts, I listen to the Good Place podcast from start to finish. And they talk pretty consistently about how the creator of that show, Mike Schur, has a saying, which is the best idea wins. And so he would do that sort of thing in their like writer's room, where he would float out something, but then someone would say something else and he'd be like, ah, best idea wins. And in that way, they kind of permeated through that culture. And there was a lot of talk about people being like, we just knew how to work together because the rule is best idea wins and it doesn't matter who said it.
Right.
And that's what this reminds me of, setting that culture of being happy to share your ideas and not hurt if it's not yours. And that's totally okay. And you're building something together with a purpose.
With a purpose. Yeah. We have a comment from Kate Jewell.
This is so exciting. I can't see those on my head.
I know. That's why I'm reading them to you. I know.
Okay, go ahead.
It says, these are the kinds of social skills I find myself explicitly explaining to my students with various learning differences.
Yeah.
Yes.
I agree. I'm not going to lie to you. This is, I took over, we have weekly practices for the team. I coach, and I have in the past few months been, alternating with other people lead. This past month has been life skills for my team. And we've also been working on these things. And some people are like, why aren't we doing improv?
Right. It is improv. It's improv.
It is, everyone. It is. And so, yes, I agree. One of the things that I found helpful in what I was using, honestly, was a lot of acceptance and commitment training. If you go to, I always forget the website, the website's name. It's contextualscience.org. Okay. Is like the home of like the Association for Contextual Behavioral Science, people who do acceptance and commitment training and all those branches. And they have resources for the public to kind of like be like, here's how to practice some living in the present moment with like life skills. And so that could be a useful tool, I think. I found.
Yes. I want to like put it in the chat. There's somewhere I should be able to put it in. What is it called?
It's contextualscience.org. I'm going to put it in our private chat because I don't know how to put it in a public chat.
Oh, that's good. Don't worry. Our powers combined, we are Captain Improv.
So yeah, that's like that professional how like people who are licensed can join professional organizations and go to conferences and talks and all that stuff. That's the Association for Contextual Behavioral Scientists is my jam, my favorite. My favorite, except for my local Virginia chapter of behavior analysis. Baba, I love you too.
This is why we have science. This is why we have science behind it, so we can share the science. Yes, it's amazing. It's amazing how much trust you have to build up in order to do what it is that we're telling you to do. And the thing is, trust is predicated upon trust. Like you have to try to trust someone before, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like you can't like wait and sit for trust to build up. And I'm saying this because when we talk to kids, and this was when Kate was talking about, like, you have to explicitly telling your students things. When we talk to kids, we have to trust that they're going to be okay with trying it, right? We can't like parent in a bubble. And when we take that, like, parent in a bubble, like, tell them, like, okay, look, this is what you're going to do, this is how to do it, and we're not going to let you out of the house until you get it right. Like, you have to go and try
Right.
it.
Yeah. And again, just like we talked about before, the context matters too. Even if you tell them a very specific thing, like, this is always how you manage the situation, it's not always going to be like that every time.
Not. Yeah, it's not. And in yours and my discussions, we're talking about that all the time. We talked about it when we talked about the self, right? Like, you can choose to act a certain way or to be a certain person, but that person, whoever it is that you're choosing, is going to act differently or be different in certain contexts. So even in this collaboration, external collaboration, when you are trying to facilitate collaboration, not one tool is going to help you, or rather, not one tool is going to work in every context that you're in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes
And
your
that's
tool is broken.
insane. Yes.
Sometimes your square peg does not fit into a round hole.
It doesn't. And sometimes it, like, the peg might fit, right? Like, your round peg might fit into your round hole, but not the same way that it fit before. Like, if you were using a screw, whatever it is. Now I'm taking this metaphor too far.
Yeah. But yeah, sometimes you have to approach things sideways. Like, you can still, like, use those basic skills, but, and if we're thinking about in terms of, like, let's stick with your stepson playing with kids in the playground, right? We talked about examples where it wouldn't be appropriate to ask to play tag, but there could be situations where he like come up with a different kind of tag that might be acceptable. Like, can we play slow motion tag?
Yes.
Can we
Absolutely.
play, like, call out your friends when you see them move tag? Yeah, sure. No contact, or, like, so there are ways to be flexible even with a slightly more specific response.
Yes, absolutely. And those things, when we're talking off the stage, can you have yes, you need to have this meeting. Yes, we're facilitating, I'm facilitating a meeting, or I'm facilitating whatever it is. And we always have it at 3:00, on Thursday. Well, can we have it at 3:00 on Thursday with bagels? Can we have it at 3:00 on Thursday outside? Can we have it at 3:00 on Thursday and someone else leads it? How do we maintain that flexibility such that the thing that we're wanting to accomplish gets accomplished, but other people are able to collaborate, really, is what, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it is exactly what that is. It's like, what is it supposed to achieve? Is the Thursday at 3:00 meeting supposed to achieve, we all get together this one time every week to make sure that we're all connected on whatever project we're working on? Then great. Yes, that can be done with bagels in our mouths or out in the courtyard. Totally. Or is it just like social bonding, catch up time? Like, yeah, we can have music and it's a dance party. So as long as you have what purpose does this serve, you can kind of build around that.
I'm also, since we talked, what can Bryce do? What can what can we do corporately? And then on stage, some of the things that we can do are not always scene painting, right? We've talked about this before, where we call someone out for the thing that they do best. If your thing is bird noises, maybe I'm setting something up for bird noises. You can also be on the sidelines and be a character who never shows up. Whatever it is, you can do so many things to help other people fill in the blanks, so that you are doing the thing. You are facilitating a scene, and not either, it gives you some options of not being like the one who always starts, the one who always fill in the blank, right? How do we get other people involved to create our story?
Mm-hmm.
Guess what, friends?
It's 30 minutes.
That's right. You guessed correctly.
Let's try.
Friends and family, listen, this is Emily Arnold Fleming, right? And Emily,
that's Shannon Tail Stop.
You're doing it.
Our things are flipped.
Going like it's great. We'll have another topic for you next month. The big the big topic is community. All right. Big topic is community. Little topic this month was collaboration. It'll be a different topic next month. And come and hang out with us.
And also, it still will be collaboration for a couple more days. In fact, we do have a live show. On and off the show is Wednesday night at something your time.
8 p.m. my time, CST, 8 p.m. Central Time. I'm in Austin, Texas. Come out and see the show. And as always, we hope to see you on and
off the stage. Goodbye.
Bye.